Welcome to Learning to Glow, a show about wellness, skin health, and self-development. I'm your host, Jess. I'm a mom, entrepreneur, and skincare expert. I'm so excited to share tips on how to achieve healthy skin and bring amazing guests in the field of health, fitness, aging gracefully, and personal growth. Let's explore all different ways we can take care of ourselves as women, both inside and out, to truly shine. So let's get glowing. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We have a great episode for you. If you have ever felt confused about what clean, quote unquote, really means, or your skincare routine is way too complicated, this episode is for you. I'm sitting down with Oni. She is the founder of ITP Beauty, and we are breaking down how to keep your skincare simple, how to start paying attention to ingredients, and how to choose safer products without feeling overwhelmed. This is a really helpful conversation if you want to feel more confident in what you're using and stop over complicating everything. She is fantastic. Oni is fantastic. So much fun to chat with, and you are going to love her and her story. For all of my Simply Jess clients, we are closing our office from April 16th to the 21st. So if you have any restocks that you need to place or any orders you need to get in, make sure you do that by the 15th of April so that we can get your products out to you in our usual speedy fashion that we do it in. And I hope you guys have the best week. Enjoy this episode. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us today on Learning to Glow. We have Oni with us. Welcome to our podcast.
Hi. Thanks, Jess. Thanks for having me. How you doing?
I'm doing great. We were just talking. We're both Southern California residents, and we're talking about this heat wave we're having, which I always talk about the weather because it's so fascinating to me. But I'm so happy to have you on our show, and I would love it if we could just first, we want to talk about clean beauty today, which I'm a huge fan of. But before we do, I'd love to just, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, I can't wait. Okay, so my name is Oni, and I'm the founder of ITP Beauty, which is an EWG verified clean skincare brand. And we like to say that it's for the busy, bossy human on the go.
I love it. So what brought you to creating your own skincare brand? One thing that I've noticed with your brand is how clean it is and how important that is to you as a brand. So tell us a little bit about why that's so important to you.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting story how I got here. So I used to work in corporate fashion, and I was a design director, a design executive, and over the years kind of realized the footprint in that industry and how terrible it was. And so slowly transitioned into sustainability through development. And I was working on a project at the time. This was years ago. I lived in New York City. I was working on a project researching sustainable technology integration for activewear. So, activewear has a lot of harmful chemicals on it so that it wicks sweat. It does all kinds of other things. And I was researching that, and I fell down a huge rabbit hole. This was like at 3 a.m. in New York City. I think there was a snowstorm at the time, so no one was going into the office. And as you do, like sometimes you're just on your computer in the middle of the night, and I was just like deep in, like, okay, chemical research on food, like there's chemicals on everything, right?
Yeah.
And I got to the skincare portion. I had just that week gone to like one of the top skincare guys in New York City about some mysterious rash on my face. Because I was coming from California. And so, as you know, like the allergens are different, the irritants are different. You're taking the subway, there's all of these things. And I assumed it was something natural, something in the air. And the specialist, the skincare specialist, couldn't figure out what was going on. So I had just had this conversation like a couple of days prior, fell down this rabbit hole into harmful chemicals in skincare. This is like right around the time clean beauty didn't really exist yet. It was kind of like, a hot button topic. No one really knew what it was. People still don't really know what it was, but no one knew what it was back then. And started researching into like different organizations, including the EWG, like what is actually in our products? What are we actually putting on our skin? That's when I realized that we don't follow EU standards. So the EU usually leads in many different areas, including sustainability, compliancy, clean skincare, beauty, all of that. So in the EU at the time, they had a no-no on, 1,400 harmful chemicals. And we at the time had a no-no on like 8, which is crazy. So I kind of just like went down the list of everything in my bathroom and literally just started throwing things away. I think I had two products left, and one of them was my Tom's toothpaste, and one of them was my moisturizer, and that was it. And just started like self-educating and putting a lot more effort and into what I was putting on my body. And within a week, my skin completely cleared up, and I haven't had any issues since. And so I think that there's a lack of know-how. The consumer doesn't know how to educate themselves, and that's not their fault because we're really, conditioned in this culture that is just supposed to trust what companies are selling to us. Well, in America, we don't actually have to get anything approved from the FDA unless it's an OTC over the counter product, which is terrifying, right? And so I came up with this concept for ITP Beauty really just based on my own needs, which I feel like all founders say that, but it's really true. I was just like, girl, what can I put on my skin? I'm busy. I'm like not really a makeup person, but I want something, so that I feel like I'm nourishing my skin. I can trust it. I'm protecting myself from the sun. So I started doing a lot of polls, just like Instagram polls, polls in my group text. I think I did one paid poll, and then I made a business plan and I pitched it to two of my best girlfriends because I was like, if I'm going to do this and make this part of my life and my lifestyle, I want to do it with other women that I care about that are kind of leaning into the same future. That was really important to me. And so I pitched them my deck and I was like, all right, what do you guys think? And I thought they were going to be like, what are you doing? Like, you work in you're a fashion executive. Like, what are you doing? And both of them were like, let's do it. This is great. This is awesome. And of course, we had no idea what we were doing, right? Like, I have an extensive background in product development and compliancy and researching chemicals that go on apparel, not your face. And so then it was just a journey for like the next 3 years researching beauty compliancy. The FDA manufacturers, I think, had a list of like 60 manufacturers throughout the US. And we were really careful about who we wanted to work with. And we were coming in with no investor, hardly any money. No one knew who we were. And I was still positioning us in the face of like, we are something that we're building a brand that is going to be something that you want to be part of,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we are only willing to work with manufacturers that are female owned, can stand by the efficacy of their products, do the proper testing, have sustainable solutions, are eco certified, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we finally found a manufacturer in California that would work with us that met all of this criteria. And they took us on under small units. And that's kind of like how this all started. And we spent about almost 3 years on our formulas. And we put a lot of effort and energy into also making sure that they're inclusive, right? So no white cast, which is like all these big companies are like, it's impossible not to get a white cast and a dark shaded SPF. And that's just a lie. Like, it's just, they're just not spending enough time because a lot of these companies are all owned by the same conglomerates. And they're just recycling formulas. They want to save money. It can be done. It just takes a long time, and everyone has people that they report to, right? So we took the time. We made sure that it was EWG verified clean when we launched, and we just kind of took baby steps from there. And this is where we are a year later. So that's the
Oh my
story.
gosh. Congratulations. Well, I told you before we started recording, I've been an esthetician for 22 or 3 years. I can't remember at this point, but I have one of your products and we'll talk about that later too. But I just was blown away with it. And I've touched a lot of skincare in my life. And so I can tell, especially when it comes to SPF, it is such a hard thing to get right. And
Yeah.
there's you know all the rules, and that when it comes to what is required by FDA, that's one of them. So
Yeah.
I'd love to hear, because you mentioned that people still don't know what clean beauty is. Can you tell me what you think of the word clean, or the words clean beauty? Like, what does it mean to you?
Yeah. It's such a hot button topic right now. And now you see all these campaigns of influencers and estheticians, et cetera, online being like, there is no clean beauty. The truth of it is that clean beauty has really become a marketing term. And so it's flipped itself on its head. It doesn't hold the weight that it did, that it should, because well known brands are utilizing this as a marketing term. And the US government, the FDA, there's no institution holding them to it, saying, like, actually, you can't use that term because XXX compliancy states that clean beauty has to be this, right? And so that is kind of where this confusion comes in, the clickbait of it all, pretending that we're doing something amazing when we're not. You can kind of make up and market anything. And so we've really gone above and beyond. Obviously, nothing is perfect, but we are EWG verified clean. They dive deep into not only every ingredient, but the percentage of ingredients, where the ingredients are sourced, when they were sourced, the efficacy of the ingredients, the sourcing, and the actual product itself. So we're not only EWG verified clean, we're also BCPP safe, which is the breast cancer prevention partners. And we work a lot with them as well to make sure that we're providing products for people that have or had breast cancer. We think it's really important for people to understand that these are safe products that you can use on yourself or for your children. We also get a lot of consumers that email us that are like, oh my God, I've been having like hormone issues. I've been breaking out. I haven't been able to wear sunscreen. And for some reason, like I can wear your product on my skin and I haven't had any reaction. So for me, I think building a community from the ground up that really stands for something that is verified and has the checks and balances of what is clean is really important. And I'm going on a tangent. You asked me what clean beauty is to me, but I wanted to provide that context because I think it's really important. Some people listening to this will be like, clean beauty is fake. And I totally get it. Like, yeah, most of it is. About 70% of the products that you see at a Target, for example, that say clean are not, right? So I explain all that to say that our product has no harmful man-made chemicals, no hormone disruptors, and nothing that is cancer causing in it. That is what clean product truly is. Now, if our product has radish root and you're allergic to radish root, it's still clean, but you just have an allergen within our product, right? So that's really what we stand for. And I think there are a lot of companies that might mean well, but they're not holding their product to that higher standard of efficacy and making sure that they're checking those boxes and then communicating that to their consumers and to their audience. So even though we're super small and almost no one knows who we are just yet, we really, take those extra steps to ensure that the quality is there and that we're doing what we say we do.
Yeah, because you have a conscience and you have integrity. And I think a lot of people and a lot of brands, it's cheaper to not be compliant and it's cheaper not to use natural ingredients. I know.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's one of those things where if they don't have to do it and they don't care about the end user, why would they? It's kind of one of those things. And I see how people can be cynical because it's not just our skincare, our personal care, it's our cleaning products. And there, that term that they use is greenwashing, right? Where they're saying it's green, it's natural, and you're allowed to say those things, but they're not. And so they're having a bunch of issues at the end of the day. And they're like, well, I thought I thought I was safe using this. One thing I wanted to ask you, when it comes to, you mentioned cancer and the breast cancer, what are some of the ingredients that you would want to avoid if you are concerned about that kind of risk? Because a lot of studies have come out and talked about these ingredients being harmful. Yeah.
Number one, there's so many, but to keep it simple for your listeners, number one is formaldehyde. If you ever see anything that says formaldehyde, and I would Google and research, quick search of what formaldehyde is and some of the acronyms behind it, because there's not a lot of regulations around how people talk about it either, which is terrifying. Do not purchase that product. It's on the no-no list. It's the number one cancer-causing chemical in the world. And in Los Angeles specifically, about 50% of beauty products, hair and skin beauty products that you see on the shelves have formaldehyde in them. And we actually were just part of the Get the Formaldehyde Out campaign. They did a huge launch campaign with BCBP for Black History Month because Black women in America are the largest spenders in beauty. They spend about $7 billion on beauty a year, and their segment of beauty products has the highest amount of formaldehyde found in it. And a lot of it is just not having, all consumers not having resources to information. Like before I stayed up till 4 a.m. digging deep, I didn't know either, you know? And
Yeah.
so it's there are resources, for example, like EWG, where you can go on and search products. If they're not verified, they might still have like an okay rating on there, or they might have a terrible rating. And then you can kind of dig in why. There's also a lot of new clean beauty apps popping up. They're a little problematic in the sense that they don't necessarily have certified systems in terms of how they're grading their products. So there's like Clearia, Yuka, and a couple others. And one of the reasons that we've specifically decided not to be on Yuka, for example, is because they don't have like a verified process that says like, okay, for example, you're using Mica 7 for this shade. That's a bad product. Out. We're degrading you 20 points. I'm making this up, right?
Mhm.
Well, that's not necessarily true if you're getting the source from a certain place in a certain way at a certain grade and it's only 1%, right? That's true if you're getting it from a very specific place and it's 50% and you have eczema and etc. So it's like if these organizations are not putting in the proper testing methods, their rating is almost unimportant. Like it means almost nothing, right? So we've been really careful. And again, nothing's perfect. It doesn't
Right.
exist yet, but we've been really careful about like where we place ourselves, because we want to take it seriously. And we get customers that are like, "Are you on Yuka?" And we're like, "No." And here's why. And then when you tell them, they're like, "Whoa, I didn't know that," you know?
Right. And then also when you were talking about, I want to ask you this before there's a couple of things I want to talk about, but when it comes to Europe, can you touch on that? Because I don't think a lot of people realize, and this goes for our food too, by the
Yeah.
way, but
Terrifying.
what's terrifying and it's frustrating, you know, and I've talked about this on my podcast before, but when we went to Europe in the summer, my family, I have a son with allergies, and he was
Oh,
able to eat these foods in Europe
yeah.
versus we went to 3 different countries in Europe, but it's very frustrating because we are paying so much more and the food is so much less of a quality because of the way the governments are different and how they care for the ingredients that we use. So can
Yeah.
you just talk about that as far as skincare and personal care goes, like the
Yeah.
differences? Yeah.
So real quick, I got to touch on this food thing because I went to a dollar store one time in Ireland and had the best tomatoes of my life. Okay. At a dollar store. So it's infuriating. I totally feel your pain. But yeah, so regards to beauty, you know, everyone knows, for example, like Parisian Rite Aids have like the best beauty products. It's like everyone talks about like, oh, if you go to Paris and you go into their like everyday drugstore, you know, you'll get like the most, you know, luxurious cream for $5. That there's a truth and a lie within that, right? So it's like, yes, you will get amazing quality products. You can also get some amazing quality products here at our Rite Aid, right? But again, it's like really about digging in. If you go to France, you'll still find things that have, for example, like fragrances in them, but there's a lot more barriers and restrictions around what can create fragrance. I would say, and again, I am not claiming to be like a toxicologist, right? But based on my research, it's like 8 to 9 out of 10 perfumes that you wear will have at least one super harmful ingredient in it. So if you're using anything with a scent, any lip gloss that's like cherry guava and it's like bright red, girl, put that down. Okay. You don't need it. It's fine. Just use the clear gloss. You're really cute with it or without it. It's fine. Right. And so it's the same thing for skincare. It's like if you see some amazing mask and it's like bright blue and it smells like melon, you don't need it. Like they're
Yeah.
not extracting the melon 9 times out of 10 to put in that product because the shelf life would only be like a month, right? They're using some kind of man-made chemical or scent injected into to create that. So that's kind of like the one barrier. You will still see variances of those things in Europe, but there's a lot more compliancy around how they get to the bottom line. The other thing is in America, and again, this is only based on my own research and knowledge, but in America, I mentioned this earlier, most beauty companies, unless they're smaller or DTC like we are are all owned by like the same 6 to 8 conglomerates up here, or eventually they get purchased, right? Like we just heard about Live Tinted, which used to be one of my favorite brands. L'Oreal just invested into them. Best of luck to you. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
what happens with these companies is a lot of them are using formulas that have been around for like 30 years. And 30 years ago, there was all kinds of crap in our beauty. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
they do that to save money, they do that to save time. People are seeing the same dupes or formulas because they are literally the same product across multiple brands. The other thing is, as a small beauty founder, one thing you learn in the immediate is when I met with all these manufacturers, the first thing they try to do is pitch to you ready to made skincare lines. Like, oh, but you could have this tomorrow. You don't have to work on this for 3 years. You could have this for tomorrow at 10% of the cost, slap a label on it and go. That's like 80% of the beauty brands out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Guaranteed that's how Hailey Bieber got started. Like that's all of them because you save so much money and so much time. The compliancy is built in on the back end, et cetera, the little that exists here. And so I think it's really just like a lack of visibility for the consumer to understand what's going on behind the scenes, right? So we have more control as a small brand to really say what goes in our product versus all of these brands that the consumer doesn't know that are actually owned by like all of these like Honest and Co, L'Oreal, et cetera, that are using the same old formulas, the same bad ingredients, and they're not willing to update them because they're reporting to VCs, boards that want to see a specific profit margin. Whereas with me, I'm like, oh, tariffs went up, our profit margin dropped. We're this big, but guess what? Like, I'm not going to charge my consumer more because we're growing and I want them to have availability to this product, right? So it's just like a different side of the coin. And I think in Europe, they don't necessarily have that same approach. There's definitely beauty conglomerates over there. And you obviously see like all the European fashion houses that have beauty lines like Gucci and et cetera, right? But there's a lot more legal compliancy at the government level that is restricting them from doing certain things that we don't have here in America.
It's so funny. I used to work in cosmetics and I used to work for Chanel when I was going to college.
Oh,
And
girl.
like all of the makeup brands, yeah, I'm like, that's owned by Estee Lauder. That's owned by Estee Lauder. It's like all the same thing. And then the ones that come up and they're independent and then they get bought out. It's so interesting how it's just like a lot of people don't know that. So that was a good point. And I love that you mentioned, you gave everybody a really important ingredient to look out for with the formaldehyde. My hair is really curly and I used to go to black hair salons and get my hair relaxed. So
Yeah.
I know those products very well and the products that have a high formaldehyde, and not to mention the stylists that are exposed to that, doing that hair all the time. It's so toxic. And I had an experience where somebody left it on my scalp for too long and I had blisters all over my head. I got a burn, and even just like the smell of it would make you like really woozy.
Yeah.
So it's a really important thing to talk about. I love that event that you mentioned because it's so prevalent, and they come out with new ones or new straighteners and it's like, oh, this one's better. It's not as harsh, but I'm like, but it still has the formaldehyde in it. So,
and I love that you mentioned that as well. Like growing up, my sister's Black, my best friend's Black, and that's something that they really struggled with. And there's been a cultural shift, in corporate America, even like 10 years ago, Black women aesthetically were really expected to look a certain way that just doesn't fall in line with like what their hair does. And so now there's a huge like natural beauty movement in the Black community. And I think it really stands for something because it's really a larger message of wellness, like love yourself as you are. And it's okay. And it's something that's obviously had to transition and spread into corporate culture as well, right? Because it's total bullshit. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on here, Jess, but
yeah, you're fine. And I remember when that started because before that, I'm a white person, but I have very, very coarse, thick, curly hair. And in fact, like not a lot of white hairstylists know what to do with me, And so I know that world. And when that natural curls, the curly girl movement came, I'm very aware of all that because I was like, oh my gosh, like, how do you do? Because a lot of times you don't get taught, and even the stylists, they don't get taught in beauty school how to curl the hair. They get
Right.
taught how to straighten it. You leave with a blowout. Like that's you straighten it, you chemically relax, and you blow out. So this is kind of a tangent, but I do remember that, and that's when I learned how to do my hair and like really learn how to embrace my curls because I did fight that, and I know a lot of women did that too. It's like curly hair, like the worst. And it's it's one of those things that I watched so many YouTubes and like learned how to do like these little things that I didn't know about before. And it was so great. And I do both. I wear my hair probably 50-50. And I went through a period where I didn't ever straighten it because I was like, that's bad. I went the other way, but I'm like, yeah, I could do it. I could do both. Like I can do whatever I
Yeah,
want.
girl, get your Carrie Bradshaw on. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
the cultural expectancy of not just Black women, but all women is just crazy. Like people have curly hair, some have super kinky hair, some people have hair you can't comb through, some people have wrinkles. Like it is
Yeah.
what it is. So I think that tonality is shifting and more about like how can we enhance who we are versus fix who we are, because no one's fit, like nothing's wrong with any of us, right? We're
Mm,
all just human, we all have pores, like get over it, right?
yeah.
So I think it's just figuring out like how do we enhance what we have and do it in the best way that's not harmful to us.
Yes, I love that. I so agree with that. So I want to talk about, you've talked about a little bit, but you've been super busy. You have this brand. It's like super hard to make a product like you have made. I would love to know personally, how do you prioritize you and your wellness? I mean, you're obviously somebody who's interested in, especially with that prior experience that you had in New York where you're having a rash and you're having a breakout and you can't figure
Mhm.
out why. So I feel like when you have a personal story like that and you realize, oh, like a lot of people who've never had issues with skincare or personal care or any type of reactions to anything, like maybe they wouldn't make a change because they're like, it's fine. I'm not having any repercussions. But
Yeah.
now you probably are more like health and wellness minded. So
Yeah,
how do you go about that? What's your self-care routine look like?
I love this question because I think it's twofold. And so on one side, I think wellness for me is really taking care of your mental first. And I think when that's good, then you can really have the energy to pay attention to everything else, right? For so long, I was just in this like corporate rabbit hole, which I think is very our generation. Like we're both millennials, right? I'm guessing. So it's like,
I'm Gen X, but close.
girl, you look good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, with I feel like with millennials, I really grew up in an era that was like you got to hustle and like be a corporate boss and like just do what it takes and like make all the money and do all the things. And then I did that and I was like, okay, what now? Like I have like 20 Gucci bags. Like what am I supposed to do? Who cares, right? Like it just you realize that that's not what balances you or serves you or creates happiness. It's just something you put on your resume at the end of the day, right? And so I feel like that is really ingrained in our cultural wellness, from the ground up, because it's how we approach everything. It's like, oh my God, I'm so busy, but I have to look perfect in this and da da da.
Yeah.
Especially in the fashion corporate world, you have to look a certain way, right? And so I think for me, part of it was deciding to leave corporate after 22 years. The other portion of that was learning what balance actually is. Like, balance isn't, you know, deciding to go to the spa once a month. It's really having time to turn within and have a moment of quiet without like 100 thoughts racing through your head. So you actually can like feel who you are, where you are, and understand what you want to do. And I think when you have that balance in your life, everything else is easier. So once I got there, then the rest of it kind of all fell in line for me, right? Because I felt like my skin was in a better position. I was eating better. I was sleeping better. I was drinking more water. And then in
Hmm.
terms of like the self care, skincare, I'm really about simplicity. And I think that is what has made it so simple to work on products for ITP Beauty, because I'm like, well, I know what I need. And if I need this, other women need this. So let's ask like what other women need. And I think that's part of the brand is approaching everything in like a multi-use way, right? So like we don't really need 12-step routines. We might need more than one product, but like how can we approach this in a way that makes our life easier by ensuring that we're still solving problems? Like I still need a moisturizer, I still need a toner, I still need a cleanser, all of these things, right? And so I think that's how I really approach wellness and beauty is from a place of peace, like inner and outer together.
You are speaking my language. That is my philosophy 100%. I mean my usernames are simply Jess. Like it's because I totally 100% believe that people feel guilty because they're not doing so many things or they don't have time to do the 12 step. The 12 step thing is just more harmful than good, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like they're told they need more and more and more. And it's really hard to navigate when you don't know the skin or they don't know like, well, what's going to really, I'm always like, what's going to move the needle? And one of the things that is really important is to me when it comes to a skincare routine is so I want to talk about your tinted SPF because that is something that I'm very minimal when it comes to my makeup. So I've been using like tinted SPFs because I walk, I'm always outside and I want something that looks like kind of covered, helps make you glow. And I want to talk about that product. Tell us about your SPF and maybe you can tell you said it was hard to make and I can imagine SPF is so tricky but it is truly like I put it on my skin and it looks so nice. It's very glowy. I'm a drier skin type, but it just is so smooth and it looks so great. So kudos to that because that is a hard feat.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think it's definitely a different formula. I think it's really reliant on application, right? I think there's a lot of SPFs on the market that are like super, super lightweight and soak in, but then you get that like greasiness throughout the day. Ours is a little bit thicker and you really have to rub it in, but it's because you're rubbing in all of your daily skincare, right? And the formulation is really made to meet you where you are. So each tone spans across 4 to 5 Fitzpatrick tones on the beauty scale of skin tones. And so when we made this product, we really approached it from a way of like, what does the average busy person need? What do they want to look like? How do they want to feel? And so it was really like a holistic wellness product. Well, we know that you need moisturizer. So we worked really hard to develop a moisturizing technology. We know that you want pH balanced skin. We know that you want to feel and look glowy. And so there's a lot of ingredients in there that, capture that and make you feel that. And it softens your skin over time as well. So it's a really great product, not only for the younger consumer, but for the aging consumer, because after a few weeks, you notice that a lot of these lines that may or may not bother you will soften, but you're also just like putting something on that enriches your beauty experience, protects you from the sun, moisturizes your skin. So we like to call it our magic product. And I know I'm biased, but it really has made my life easier. I actually filmed a tutorial before this where I got ready in 5 minutes and I just used our product in 3 shades and mascara and that was it. And I was like ready to go. So it's a time saver, it's a money saver, and we're obsessed with it.
That's my kind of routine. I'm like, let's go, let's get it. I haven't even been wearing eyeliner, eye makeup. I'm just like, you're right. Like not everybody is like some people want to do the whole shebang and they can still do that with your product because it does go on so beautifully. Makeup goes on great on top of it too. I've done both, but most days I only have your SPF on and some blush. So I didn't. Yeah, it's just like
and you look glowy as fuck. So
I'm really glowy. I'm super glowy. But I just find it to be so nice that you can feel good about an SPF because a lot of times that's not an easy, clean product to make. Yeah. And the fact that it has that skincare component to it and that can help over time too. I just think it's fantastic. So congratulations. I love it. I know people are going to want to check you guys out. So tell us where everybody can find you and check out this wonderful SPF. Like I don't rave about products that I don't love. I never, my listeners know it. It's got to be good for me to to
Thank you
talk
so
about it.
much. Yeah, we work with a couple estheticians here in LA too. And I say work with loosely, right? Like we've built relationships with them through social media. And there's one specifically, her name's Brigitte. She lives in the Valley and she uses it. She has problematic skin and she uses it as a mask. So she sent us videos where she like puts a thick layer on as a mask and then she blends it in, for her product after like 30 minutes. And I thought that was genius too, because I'm like, oh, you're just layering on top of this like multi-use messaging, but it's awesome. But yeah, people can find us at itpbeauty.com. So we're just a small DTC brand, and we're hopefully launching our third product at the end of this year. So we have different bundles of our SPF. We have a clean lip mask that's amazing, clear, unscented. And then we're launching another really amazing hero product that we've spent a couple years working on, hopefully in the fall. I'm very excited. So we'll send you that one as well, Jess, when it becomes available. And then, Instagram, TikTok, everyone can see me making a complete fool of myself on there at ITP Beauty.
Yes, everybody go follow. And thank you so much. It's so fun talking to you. I'll put all this in the show notes so it's easy for everybody to find you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me, Jess.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please subscribe and review so we can reach more people who want to learn to glow alongside us. See you next time.